Welcome back, students. We are dealing with electrochemistry, now part 3. In the previous video we discussed about Arrhenius theory of dissociation. This theory is useful to explain the reason why the equivalent conductance of weak electrolytes increases with dilution. In weak electrolytes with the dilution, the equivalent conductance increases. This is explained by Arrhenius theory based on the increase in the degree of dissociation. On dilution, degree of dissociation of weak electrolyte increases. As the degree of dissociation increases, number of ions also increases, and ions are the current carriers. As the current carriers or the ions are increasing, the equivalent conductance also increases in case of weak electrolytes. Whereas in strong electrolytes, at moderate concentrations itself, the strong electrolytes are at moderate dilutions or concentration. The strong electrolytes are completely ionized, and the question of increase in the degree of dissociation with dilution will not arise because they are completely ionized at moderate dilutions itself. Now, why the equivalent conductance of strong electrolytes is increasing with dilution is not explained by Arrhenius theory. Now, to explain the reason for increase in the equivalent conductance of strong electrolytes, D. by Huckel proposed a theory. Let us see the postulates of D. by Huckel theory. According to this theory, every strong electrolyte is completely ionized at all dilutions. And this theory assumes that each ion is surrounded by spherically symmetrical shell of opposite ions called ionic atmosphere. Like a positive ion is surrounded by negative ions. See here, a positive ion, central ion, is surrounded by negative ions. This surrounding negative ions is called as ionic atmosphere. In the same way, negative ion will be surrounded by an atmosphere of positive ions. So negative ion, negative central ion will have positive ionic atmosphere. Under the influence of electric field, the central ion and the ionic atmosphere move in opposite direction, because if the central ion is positively charged, it will move towards cathode, and then the ionic atmosphere will be negatively charged and it will move towards anode. So the central ion and the ionic atmosphere will move in opposite direction in the presence of electric field. And according to D. by Huckel theory, increase in the conductance on dilution is not due to increase in the number of ions, but it is due to the increase in the mobility of the ions or speed of ion. Now, how the mobility or speed of ions increases with dilution, let us discuss in the coming slides. And electrical forces and viscosity of the solvent are responsible for the speed of ions. And lambda V by lambda infinity gives only conductance ratio but not the degree of dissociation, because in case of strong electrolytes they undergo complete dissociation at all dilution. So lambda V by lambda infinity gives only the ratio of conductance values at different dilutions, but it do not give the value of degree of dissociation, because it is strong electrolytes are completely ionized at all dilutions. Next, the reason for the increase in the mobility of ions with the dilution can be explained by considering interionic interactions between the ions. Those two interactions are, first one is asymmetric effect or relaxation effect. And as per D. by Huckel theory, a central ion is surrounded by an ionic atmosphere having the opposite charge to the ionic atmosphere have opposite charge to the central ion. Let us suppose one of the central ion is positively charged central ion. It is surrounded by an ionic atmosphere, negatively charged ionic atmosphere. And whenever an electric field is applied, the central ion, suppose electric field is applied such that such that the central ion will move towards negative electrode and the ionic atmosphere will move towards positive electrode. So the central ion and the ionic atmosphere are moving in opposite direction. As they are moving in opposite direction, the ionic atmosphere will have some attraction towards central ion because both are oppositely charged. But the central ion is moving in this direction, whereas ionic atmosphere is moving in this direction. Both are moving in opposite direction. Now the ionic atmosphere will attract the central ion backwards, because there exists an attraction forces between the negatively charged ionic atmosphere and positively charged central ion. So the ionic atmosphere uh, will pull back the central ion, so that the speed of the central ion will decrease. Actually the central ion, if the central ion is moving in this direction towards its respective electrode and the ionic atmosphere is moving in this direction, so the ionic atmosphere will pull back the central ion, so that the central ion speed of the central ion will decreases. And uh, whenever the central ion is moving towards its respective electrode, like if cation moves towards cathode, if the central ion is cation, it moves towards cathode. While it is moving towards cathode, uh, one of the ionic atmospheres surrounding the central ion will be replaced by another new ionic atmospheres. Like here, if here one ionic atmosphere is surrounding the central ion. Now if it is moving towards its electrode cathode, this ionic atmosphere will disappear and it will again surrounded by new ionic atmosphere formed by new ions. So the old ionic atmosphere will disappear or lost and new ionic atmosphere will be forming. But these two process, the loss of or the removal of old ionic atmosphere and the formation of new ionic atmosphere will not takes place instantaneously. So there will be a time of relaxation is needed for occurring these two processes, the loss of removal of old ionic atmosphere and the formation of new ionic atmosphere requires some time. This is called as this is called do not takes place instantaneously and requires some and takes some time. This time is called as time of relaxation. And because of this time of relaxation, the old ionic atmosphere is not removing completely or dying out completely, and the new ionic atmosphere is not forming instantaneously. Because of this, the central ion will be under the influence of old ionic atmosphere and again it will be pushed back by the old ionic atmosphere. However, if new ionic atmosphere has formed instantaneously, the central ion will be under the influence of new ionic atmosphere and it will be moving forward. But the old ionic atmosphere is not dying out completely, immediately, instantaneously. So the central ion will be under the influence or it will be attracted by old ionic atmosphere, and old ionic atmosphere is moving in opposite direction to the central ion. So the central ion will be attracted backwards, and because of this, uh, again the speed of the central ion will decrease, and this effect is called as relaxation effect, because this process is taking place because both the new ionic atmosphere are taking time of relaxation for forming of new ionic atmosphere and dying out of old ionic atmosphere. So this process is called as uh, relaxation effect. And the decrease in the speed of ion is also explained like this. The central ion, here we are considering positively charged central ion. It is surrounded by negatively charged ions. Now these negatively charged ions are symmetrically distributed. You see, it is spherically distributed, symmetrically distributed around the central ion. But in the presence of an applied electric field, the central ion is moving this side and ionic atmosphere are moving in this side. So all the ions in the ionic atmosphere are oriented in the backward direction of central ion. So these ions are no more symmetrically distributed and they exert force on the central ion. If it is symmetrically distributed, the force exerted by the ionic atmosphere in one direction will be cancelled in by the other direction. But whereas in case of the ionic atmosphere which is not symmetrically distributed, the force exerted by the ionic atmosphere will not get cancelled because it is not symmetrically distributed, and the net force will be in the backward direction. This side only, this side no force is there, so the net force is in the backward direction, and because of this asymmetric orientation of ionic atmosphere, the central ion will be attracted or pushed back, and so the speed of the central ion will be decreasing. So because of these two effects, one is asymmetric effect or the asymmetric orientation of ionic atmosphere, and relaxation effect, time of relaxation of old ionic atmosphere and new ionic atmosphere. Because of these two effects, the speed of the central ion will decrease. And we consider here, we are taking the positive ion as central ion. We can explain the asymmetric effect and relaxation effect in the same way by considering negative ion as the central ion. For the negative central ion, positive ionic atmosphere will be there. Now the next factor which decreases the or which retards the speed of central ion or the ions in an electrolytic solution is electrophoretic effect. And ionic atmosphere, here also let us consider the central ion as positive ion, and it is surrounded by an ionic atmosphere having negative charge. Now the solvent molecules will be associated with the ionic atmosphere. That means solvent molecules will have some attraction towards the ionic atmosphere and they are associated with the ionic atmosphere. And so the solvent molecules will move along with the ionic atmosphere in the direction opposite to the movement of the central ion, because we know that central ion and ionic atmosphere will move in opposite direction whenever an electric field is applied. So along with the ionic atmosphere, the solvent cage which is associated with the ionic atmosphere will also move in the opposite direction to the central ion. So earlier we have seen that the ionic atmosphere is retarding the speed of central ion, but along with the ionic atmosphere, the solvent molecules also will push back the central ion and decreases its speed. Now the central ion has to move against the stream of solvent molecules, and this retarding effect is equal to the increase in the viscous resistance of the solvent. If the solvent is having more viscosity, this retarding effect will be more. It is like a swimmer swimming in the upstream. That means in the opposite direction, in the direction opposite direction of the flow of water. Swimming in the direction of the water stream is easy, but swimming in the direction opposite of the water stream is tough. Now the central ion is moving in the moving in upstream or in the opposite direction of the stream. So because of this effect, like here, the stream solvent stream is moving in this direction and the central ion has to move in this direction. So the central ion is moving upstream the solvent cage. So because of this effect, the speed of the central ion again decreases, and the retarding effect of the solvent is more if the viscosity of the solvent is more. Now these two factors, asymmetric effect or relaxation effect and electrophoretic effect, these two effects will retard the speed of central ion. Whenever an electrolyte solution is diluted, let's see what happens when this electrolytic solution is diluted. When an electrolytic solution is diluted, then there will be less number of ions available per unit volume of the solution. Means Suppose the ions are like this here before dilution. If these are distributed in 1 ml, let us take these are distributed in 1 ml. On dilution, they will be distributed like this. So on dilution, the average number of ions before per unit volume there are 6 ions before dilution, but after dilution for the same volume less number of ions are present per unit volume after dilution. So by diluting, the number of ions per unit volume will decrease and the distance between the ions will also increase. The average distance between the ions will increase on dilution. And as a result of this, by dilution, the number of ions per unit volume will decrease and the distance between the ions will also increase. So because of this, let us consider first electrophoretic effect, the first asymmetric effect. Central ion is surrounded by, suppose here, 4 negative charges. On dilution, the number of ions per unit volume for this volume only will decrease. So instead of 4 ions present in the ionic atmosphere, 2 or 3 ions will be present. So less number of ions will be present in the ionic atmosphere, and less number of ions will be pulling back the central ion. So the number of ions pulling back the central ion are decreasing. So the decrease in the speed also will decrease. So speed of the central ion will not decrease much when the solution is diluted, because less number of ions are present per unit volume. In the same way, electrophoretic effect also. Here also the number of ions present per unit volume will decrease, and so the retarding force also will be decreased. So on dilution, these effects, asymmetric effect or relaxation effect and electrophoretic effects are decreasing. These are the effects which decrease the speed of the central ion. As these effects are decreasing with the dilution, the speed of the central ion will increase. So in case of strong electrolytes, the speed of the central ion is increasing because these two effects, are asymmetric effect and electrophoretic effect, are decreasing. But it is not because of the increase in the number of ions. So D by Huckel stated that the increase in the equivalent conductance of strong electrolytes with dilution is because of the decrease in the interionic effects, that is asymmetric effect and electrophoretic effect, but it is not because of the increase in the degree of dissociation. Onsager, based on the Debye-Huckel theory, has proposed a mathematical equation which gives the relationship between lambda c, that means equivalent conductance at any dilution, and lambda naught. Lambda naught indicates the equivalent conductance at large dilution or infinite dilution, or at an approximately zero concentration, is known as equivalent conductance at infinite dilution, and it is represented as lambda infinity. It is the conductance at zero concentration or infinite dilution. It is represented as lambda infinity or lambda naught. And lambda c indicates the equivalent conductance at any particular concentration, that is lambda c. Then the relationship between lambda c and lambda naught is given by Onsager equation, that is lambda c equals to lambda naught minus 82.4 by dt. This is the relationship between lambda c and lambda naught. And this is called as this constant is called as A, and this constant is called as B. This A is a constant that depends upon electrophoretic effect of the solvent, and B depends upon B indicates the asymmetric effect. Now from this equation is in the form of y equals to c minus mx, or y equals to minus mx plus c. this this is C and this is minus M, this is X. So if we plot a graph between this we are treating as X. If we plot a graph between root C on X axis and lambda C on Y axis, we will get a straight line having negative slope and having intercept on Y axis. So the graph will be like this. If a graph is drawn between lambda C minus lambda V, a different concentration, we will get a graph with a straight line having, this is a line with negative slope and it is intersecting Y axis, so it is having Y intercept, and the value of the Y intercept is equals to lambda naught value, that is equivalent conductance at infinite dilution, that is lambda naught. Now from this equation, if C value is approaching 0, this entire term in the bracket is multiplied with 0, so it will become 0. This will become 0 completely. So then lambda C will become equals to lambda naught. So the concentration is 0 or approximately approaching 0. The lambda C will become equals to lambda naught, lambda infinity. And by decreasing the value of C, by decreasing the concentration, this term will decrease and the subtracting fraction from this also decreases, so lambda C value increases. Or this shows that on dilution equivalent conductance value increases. This D by Huckel-Onsager equation is verified by measuring the equivalent conductance of different electrolytes shown in this graph at different concentration. The theoretical values are shown by dotted lines and the experimental values are shown by dots here, and both are falling on same line. The theoretical values calculated from D by Huckel-Onsager equation and the experimental values the experimental values are plotted. They are found to be on same line, so this verifies Onsager equation, and these values indicates lambda infinity for these respective electrolytes. How to measure equivalent conductance? Let us see briefly. This is Wheatstone bridge. If we want to measure equivalent conductance of any unknown electrolyte, Wheatstone bridge contains 4 resistances as shown here, and this is third resistance is a variable resistance and these two are fixed resistances, and here we have to take the solution or the electrolytic solution whose equivalent conductance we want to determine. Fix them here, and these points B and D are attached by a galvanometer G. Now the experiment is done in this way. Current is passed through the Wheatstone bridge circuit and the resistance R3 value is always adjusted, is variable, and it is adjusted such that the galvanometer here shows no deflection. Then in this particular condition, R1 by R2 is equals to R4 by R3. So this formula, from this formula we know R1 and R2 are fixed resistances and R3 is the variable resistance, and how much that value, that resistance value is fixed, that we can know from the device, and only unknown value is R4 that can be determined from this equation. So from this equation we can calculate R4, that is unknown resistance or the resistance of our electrolytic solution. So if we know R4 resistance, you know that if we know resistance and conductance can be calculated as 1 by C equals to 1 by R. So if we know resistance, we can calculate conductance. And once conductance is known, and we know that R equals to rho L by A. From this, 1 by R equals to 1 by R is called as C equals to 1 by rho is called as K, and this also becomes inverse A by L. So once conductance is known, by substituting the value of area of the electrode and length between the electrodes, that can be measured by looking at the cell. So knowing the value of C from Wheatstone bridge, taking the reciprocal of resistance, knowing the value of C, length A, we can determine the value of K, that is specific conductance. Once specific conductance is known, once K is known, lambda can be determined as K into V. V indicates the volume of the solution, which is having 1 gram equivalent weight of substance. So we have to perform the experiment by taking 1 gram equivalent weight of substance in particular volume VML and calculate its resistance. From the value of resistance, find out C conductance, and from the value of conductance we can calculate K specific conductance, and by knowing specific conductance and multiplying it with the volume of that solution will give the value of lambda equivalent conductance. In this way always equivalent conductance will be determined. In this way the equivalent conductance of a solution at different concentration is determined, and those values are shown by lines here, and the values of equivalent conductance measured from D by Huckel-Ansager equation are shown as dots here, and all those two values are falling on the same line. So this verifies D by Huckel-Ansager equation. Let us brush up Faraday's laws of electrolysis. This concept is useful for understanding the next topic, Hittorf experiment. So let us briefly study Faraday's laws of electrolysis. This law states that during the process of electrolysis, we have seen that suppose we are doing the electrolysis of one of the electrolyte, that is copper sulfate. Suppose we are doing the electrolysis of copper sulfate. Whenever an electricity is passed through the copper sulfate solution, copper is placed to positively charged, so it will move towards cathode, and sulfate will move towards anode, and copper plus 2 will move towards cathode and get deposited on the cathode. So the amount of substance, so how much quantity of substance is deposited at the respective electrodes is given by Faraday's laws of electrolysis. The amount of substance deposited, evolved. In case of gases, the substance will be liberated or evolved. The amount of substance deposited, if chlorine is present or anion here, will convert into gas and get liberated. If chlorine is there, chlorine also will convert to Cl2, and this sulfate will also convert to some gaseous form and will be liberated here. So the amount of substance deposited, evolved or dissolved at an electrode is directly proportional to the amount of electricity passed through the electrolyte solution or its melt. So mass of the substance that is deposited is directly proportional to the amount of electricity passed through the electrolytic solution. Here Q is the charge, amount of electricity passed. M is the mass of the substance deposited and Q is the amount of electricity. And we know that Q is the amount of electricity expressed in coulombs. Q equals to I into T, where I is current, T is time. So M proportional to Q, or we can write M proportional to IT. Whenever there is proportionality symbol, by removing that we can introduce a constant. Here the constant introduced is Z, called electrochemical equivalent of that substance. So for each substance one Z value will be there. Z is not constant for all substance, that changes from one substance to another substance. Now Z is defined as Z becomes equals to M when I is 1 and time is 1. When I1 means when 1 ampere current is passed for 1 second, the mass of the substance deposited is equals to electrochemical equivalent. Is defined as the amount of substance deposited or dissolved by passing 1 coulomb current of electricity or 1 ampere per 1 second. 1 coulomb of electricity through the electrolytic solution is called as electrochemical equivalent. This is first law of Faraday first law of electrolysis. That means mass of the substance deposited is directly proportional to the electricity passed through the solution. Now Faraday's second law of electricity. When the same quantity of electricity is passed through different electrolytic solution, then mass of the different ions liberated at the electrodes are directly proportional to their equivalent weights. Let us suppose that 1 Faraday of electricity is passed through 3 different electrolytic solutions here. In one of the electrolytic cell, sodium chloride solution is taken. In another cell, suppose magnesium chloride is taken. In another cell, let us suppose that aluminum chloride is taken. Now through these 3 electrolytic solutions, 1 Faraday of current is passed. 1 Faraday of electricity is passed through these electrolytic solutions. Now by passing 1 Faraday of electricity, 1 Faraday means it is equals to 96,500 coulombs, or 1 Faraday means it is the charge of 1 mole of electrons. We know that the charge of 1 electron is 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb, and the charge of 1 mole of electrons, 1 mole means Avogadro number of electrons, that is Avogadro number is 6.023 into 10 to the power of 23. So the charge of 1 electron into Avogadro number, that is the charge of Avogadro number of electrons. The charge of Avogadro number of electrons is called as 1 Faraday, and this value multiplying these two will get 96,500 coulombs. So 1 Faraday indicates the charge of 1 mole of electrons. So when 1 Faraday of current electricity is passed through these solutions, now here minus is there, so 1 Faraday of or 1 mole of electrons are moving in this direction, as it is attached to minus electrode here. So 1 mole of electrons will move this side. Now first for easy understanding, let us move from left to right. Actually the current will pass from right to left only, but for understanding let us start from NaCl. So when 1 Faraday of electricity is passed through NaCl solution, NaCl solution contains Na plus ions and Cl minus ions. So 1 mole of sodium chloride will contain 1 mole of Na plus ion and 1 mole of Cl minus ion. So 1 mole of positive charges are there in 1 mole of sodium chloride solution. So this 1 mole of positive charges will be neutralized by 1 Faraday of electricity, because Faraday contains charge that is equals to 1 mole of electrons. So 1 mole of electrons will neutralize the charge on 1 mole of sodium plus ions. So this 1 mole of sodium will get deposited as the charge is neutralized, they will get deposited on the positive electrode here. And the mass of 1 mole of sodium is, we know that 23. So the amount of substance deposited at the anode of the third cell is 23 grams of sodium. Now when the same 1 Faraday is passed through magnesium chloride solution, 1 mole of magnesium will give Mg plus 2 charge. So each mole, that means 6.023 into 10 to the power of 23 atoms are there in magnesium, but each atom is having plus 2 charge, so the total plus 2 charges are equals to 2 into Avogadro number. But we are passing current which is having the charge equals to the charge of 1 mole of electrons only. So the 1 mole of electrons will neutralize the charge on not this complete 1 mole of magnesium plus 2. 1 mole of magnesium chloride will give 1 mole of magnesium ion plus 2 moles of Cl minus ions. Now 1 mole of 1 mole of electrons will not neutralize this magnesium plus 2 completely, but it neutralizes only half of the magnesium plus 2, because total charges present here are 2 into Avogadro number, but we are sending only Avogadro number of charges. So this Avogadro number of charges will neutralize only half of the charges on magnesium plus 2. So only not 1 mole of magnesium plus 2 will not undergo neutralization and get deposited on the anode, but only half mole of it will be deposited. That means the atomic weight of magnesium by 2, that is 24 by 2. That atomic weight and atomic weight by charge here is 2, or atomic weight by valency is called as equivalent weight. And sodium is deposited as 23 grams and magnesium will deposit only 12 grams. That is equivalent weight of magnesium. Next, when the same 1 Faraday of current is electricity is passed through AlCl3 solution. Now 1 mole of AlCl3 will give 1 mole of Al plus 3 moles of Cl minus. Now the charge of each aluminium is plus 3. So 1 mole of aluminiums are there, but each is having plus 3 charge. So the total positive charges are 3 into Avogadro numbers. Avogadro number of atoms are there, but each atom is carrying plus 3 charge. So the total plus 3 charges are 3 into Avogadro number. Now, but we are passing only Avogadro number of electrons, because 1 Faraday means Avogadro number of electrons. So these Avogadro number of electrons will neutralize only 1 Avogadro number of aluminium atoms, and the 2 Avogadro number of aluminium atoms or 2n atoms will be remaining unneutralized. It means 1 Avogadro number of electrons will neutralize not the total 1 mole of aluminium, but it will neutralize 1/3 of the aluminium weight, because each is having plus 3 charge. So it will not neutralize complete 1 mole of aluminium, but it will neutralize only 1/3 of aluminium. And the atomic weight of aluminium is 27. So the amount of aluminium neutralized is 27 by 3. That is atomic weight by charge is called as equivalent weight. So equivalent weight of aluminium is 9, and so 9 grams of aluminium will be deposited. So if for sodium 23 grams of sodium is deposited. For magnesium only 12 grams of magnesium is deposited, and for aluminium 9 grams of aluminium will be deposited. So the mass of the substance deposited at the respective electrodes is proportional to their equivalent weights. So if the equivalent weight is more amount of substance will be deposited. This is the case if 1 Faraday of electricity is passed. If 2 Faraday of electricity is passed, all this multiplied by 2, 23 into 2, 12 into 2, 9 into 2 grams of aluminium will be deposited. Let us see how this experiment is actually done. When 1 Faraday of current is passed, electricity is passed through this solution, the minus charge, the charge of the Avogadro number of electrons will be taken by aluminium, 9 grams of aluminium. Even though 27 grams of aluminium is present, only 9 grams of aluminium will take the charge, because 9 grams will consume complete 1 mole of electrons, and so this 9 grams of aluminium will get deposited here. and the Cl minus will move towards this electrode, and Cl minus will be converted to Cl2 and release the electron. Again it will release 1 Faraday of electrons, and this 1 Farad of electrons, this 1 Faraday of electrons, and you see 1 mole of 1 mole of AlCl3 is giving 1 mole of AlCl3 will give Al plus 3 1 mole plus 3 Cl minus. But this is 27 grams, that means 1 mole. But 9 grams will give this sorry AlCl3 1 mole will give Al plus 3 plus 3 Cl minus. This is 1 mole is giving Al plus 3 27 grams plus 3 Cl minus, but by passing 1 Faraday only 1 gram equivalent weight, that is by 3, 27 by 3, 9 grams of this will be liberated, and instead of giving 3 Cl minus by 3, that means only 1 Cl minus will be liberated. 1 Cl minus means only 1 Faraday of current will 1 Faraday of charges will come out, and Cl minus will convert to Cl2 and liberate electrons. So the number of electrons liberated here are only the charge present on 1 mole of Cl minus. So 1 mole of Cl minus gives 1 Faraday of charge. So 1 Faraday of charge is consumed here by Al plus 3, and 9 grams of Al plus 3 is deposited on cathode, and Cl minus will deposit or liberated at anode, and it will release 1 Faraday of electricity again, and this 1 Farad of electricity will move to this electrode, and it will neutralize 12 grams of magnesium that will be deposited on the cathode here in this cell, and again Cl minus, again 1 mole of Cl minus will be liberated at anode of this cell, and Cl minus will liberate minus charges, and number of minus charges liberated here are again 1 Faraday. This 1 Faraday will move here, and again Na plus 1 Faraday of charge will neutralize 1 mole of Na plus, or 1 gram equivalent weight of NaCl. For sodium chloride, equivalent weight and molecular weight are same. So 1 gram equivalent weight of sodium will be deposited on this electrolyte, and again Cl minus and 1 Faraday will be lost. Now the weight of the substance deposited at all these electrodes is proportional to their equivalent weight. Here sodium is deposited 23 grams, more weight. Here magnesium is only 12 grams, its equivalent weight is less, so it deposited also less quantity. Aluminium equivalent weight is 9 grams only, so it deposited only 9 grams. So if the equivalent weight is more quantity of substance will be deposited. So we can say that W1 is to W2 is to W3 equals to E1 is to E2 is to E3. If 3 solutions are there, E4 is to 4 and E4. So E1, E2, E3 represents their equivalent weights. So we can write like this. If there are only 2 electrolytes, W1 by W2 equals to E1 by E2. And we know that from first law of Faraday first law, W equals to W proportional to IT, or Q W proportional to Q, or ZIT. So W in place of W we can write Z1IT by in place of W2 Z2I2 equals to E1 by E2, or from this we can write like this, E1 by E2 equals to Z1 by Z2. So when same quantity of current electricity is passed through the different electrolytes, the mass of the substance deposited at the respective electrodes is proportional to their equivalent weights. Or when same farad 1 Faraday of charge is passed through different electrolytes, all the substances are deposited in 1 gram equivalent weight. This is called as Faraday's second law of electrolysis. Thank you.